Good morning. Today is February 16th, 2023. The time is now 9 a.m. I am Kevin Day, board of the chair of the board.
You're bored with the
I'll
chair.
get it out in proper order here. And I will call this meeting to order. If you do have your cell phones, please silence them at this time. And if you would join me for the pledge and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess we've been sitting.
We've been sitting. Father, we come before you this morning, Lord, and we ask that as we come together here today to take care of the business of the county, that you would be with us. Father, we ask that you would guide our thoughts, our words, and our actions here today. We ask that the things that we do and say would be in accordance to your will. Please guide us and guard us. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Billy, could we get a roll call?
What are you gonna do if I say no one day?
Then I'll make Jennifer do it.
Okay, let's say no. Commissioner Day,
Present.
Commissioner Candace,
Here.
Commissioner Flowers,
Present.
and Clerk to the Board, Kelly Kemper. Present.
All right, and audience introductions. Guess we'll start with you, Jordan, since you're still here.
Jordan Benson, IT, fixed computer.
Kayla Day Wetmore.
Paul Young,
And
Rosie
Rosie
Hills.
Bennett and Jennifer Cree, admin.
All right. And if we have any amendments to the agenda,
None from me.
Sir.
okay. Approval of the minutes. We received minutes for February 7th and February 8th, 2023.
Well, you're gonna roll. I'll move on, approve the minutes for February the 7th, I should say, instead of February the 8th, 2023.
Second. Any discussion on those?
No, just appreciate getting them and a little typo, got that fixed. So thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it.
I have more done too, but our snow day sort of ruined sending that out, so. Next.
I suppose I could have let you come on
Thank you,
in.
buddy.
You could have.
You're getting caught up though.
All right. So those in favor of approving the minutes for February 7th and February 8th, 2023, signify by saying aye.
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 Commissioner items. Commissioner Kendall.
Just a couple things that's happened since our last meeting. You know, it hasn't been that long, but there's a lot going on. From a Upper Ark Water Conservancy District point of view, there's been some, I didn't go in person, but I got the status. The IJA, which is important with Round Mountain and the Upper Ark, has been approved, and they have an agreed to share use, share cost IGA now. And it's 2/3 on the use and cost of the thing. So it's a big deal. The other thing is there's pending legislation that's kind of going to be an issue if it passes on ditch cleanup, water rights and that kind of thing. So I've asked them to consider coming up here and put a presentation on where we stand with the big picture, both with the Upper Ark, with Round Mountain and where they're going on the water, as well as the pending legislation that we probably ought to get people in the county geared for, if it passes, in order to go and help fight it anyway. The other thing that happened was a good news from the broadband perspective. We had a meeting that you all were at as well. And the good news there is because of the changes in the funding and all that caused us to be delayed last year, it's actually worked out for the betterment, because we've got a new money that's around and they're chasing it. And Hilltop was able to begin construction on their own dime on in May is when they're projecting to start dragging in broadband capability to the towns of Silver Cliff, Westlake, and to the residents. They're going to pursue a dole application and that's available to be let in July to get the 4 mile radius around those two towns. So it will go begin getting out into the county with that grant, and then others will follow. So we'll see and stay tuned with that. But a bunch of these grants are 100% grants. So that was good news. And then the fair board met, and hard to believe, but it's rodeo time already to start planning. They started that meeting. I had to leave early, but they're pressing on. And I asked, I got a hold of Scotty Camper and Wendy, and I think we ought to have a meeting with the two entities every maybe quarter or so, see how we're working together, what's up, and supporting each other. And they hadn't talked to Scotty about it a lot yet, but Wendy's all for it. And Scotty agreed as well. We'll see where we go. That's all I have for now.
Did they meet in the basement of the fair?
Fine.
Oh,
Yeah, that was at 5. It was at 4:30 instead of 4, so I think it's when it started. Oh, and one last thing there on the fair board piece. Reggie Foster is wanting to be involved with CSU's broadband thing as well. They got money they want to put around, and she sent a note that I think we were all on. So I'll start inviting her to the broadband meetings and getting involved.
I'll scratch that off my list.
So you can do it.
No, I had it on.
Oh, you got the fair board piece or the?
I was just gonna mention the fact that they might have some help for us as well.
Yeah, well, good. All right.
Thank you, sir. I did go out to Karen Smith's house, picked up Clint's computer and his set of law books. I had a chance to visit with Karen a little bit. I know a lot of people have asked me how she's doing and what, if any, arrangements have been made or are going to be made. And she told me that Clint specifically asked her to promise not to have a funeral, not to have a celebration of life. And so she's honoring that, his wish, so that is not going to occur. And she's, in my opinion, seems to be doing fairly well, struggling as to be expected, but I think she's going to be fine. Their son and his family have been involved, helping her and supporting her through that whole thing. So she said that she just didn't think there was any way she could bring that stuff to the courthouse and have an interaction with a bunch of people. So she asked if I could just come get it. So obviously Clint will be missed. Very special individual, I just haven't been around a lot of retired judges, so it was fun to talk to him about some of those experiences back in the old days. But thoughts and prayers go out to Karen and her family, and I certainly told her that everybody in the county system had been
Shock and rock, that's for sure.
extending their best wishes and thoughts and prayers as well. So wanted to relay that. Go through my calendar since our last meeting. Obviously, we had a Board of Health meeting on the 8th, the broadband meeting on the 9th, up at the Westcliff Town Hall. Also attended the Republican Central Committee meeting. On the 10th, I sat in on a Zoom meeting hosted by a company called Granicus. And they're basically, they may do other things, but this meeting specifically, a rep from their company was pitching the idea of selling some software for short-term rental management. I had said late in the meeting, I said, I'm aggravated that I didn't dream up this idea of surfing the internet and building a business based on the information you can find on the internet. But they've got quite a system in place to help government entities deal with short-term rentals, including tracking existing short-term rentals and comparing that to permitted short-term rentals. Dorothy was on that call as well, and I had mentioned to the gal that she's a couple of years late coming to the table for us, but certainly tracking the short-term rentals piqued my interest a little bit. According to their data, unincorporated Custer County has 85 short-term rentals advertising on various platforms. And we have 42, maybe 43 permitted to operate in the unincorporated part of the county. So I also told the gal that I learned a long time ago not to believe everything I read on the internet, but I'm not challenging you. If you believe we have 85, then I'll take you at your word. So
Yeah, I that came up before, and what I understood the answer was they were including people in Crested Butte and Fremont County that were included in that number. And if you took those out, it was 40 whatever. So I think you're right. You don't want to trust everything you hear.
yeah, I don't know about
That-
Crested
that
Butte or Fremont
was-
County.
and-
Those were in Custer County. They had them
Well,
all
that's what
on a
they
map
claim, but
in Custer County.
yeah.
So
So
you
I don't
know, I'm not gonna
believe
jump
it
off the cliff over that number, but it does beg the question of how many short-term rentals are functioning without being permitted, and some of
probably
those
are.
we already know. Let's use the Alpine for example, you know, they have special use permit, Alpine special use permit. So, you know, there's probably some exceptions to that. I'm not sure that's an accurate number, but anyway, I thought she had a good presentation. She will make those slides available for anybody that wants to look at those, but was right at $7,000 a year for the address.
And then get a grant for the first year to cover it.
Amazing
Yeah.
what capitalism can do, make money off a lot of things.
So anyway, I sat in on that on the 10th, and then on the 14th, I met with Charles Bogle and Rich Posadas about the Veterans Trust Fund and the status of that. The American, well, a little history, the VFW made the decision not to reapply for that grant. And so the American Legion indicated they would be interested. And then after that meeting, I was notified that the VFW now has decided that they are interested in applying for those funds. So I'm not sure what the status is of that, but
That's interesting. I had a call from Rich Posadas. There's a meeting tonight, and he asked if I could be there because they were going to talk about that trust fund.
yeah, that's American Legion. Yeah. So I guess they will probably defer to the VFW if in fact they are going to
Sure.
apply for it. So
They
they did it. I think they've
I'll
done
find
it for
out.
the last 3 years, but last year I think it was 75,000. So hate to not get somebody to apply for that. You have to be a 501c 19 or a 23 corp or entity to be able to apply for that grant. But so
And the time, the window's about to close on that.
March 1st is the deadline for the application. Very simple application. When you look at it, I pulled it up and thought, oh my gosh, I wished I could write a $75,000 grant on 4 pages. It was as simple as that. So administering the grant is a whole nother ballgame, but the application itself is pretty straightforward, so. And then I hoped we could have a conversation about the whole attorney thing, and Brenda Jackson and her involvement and all that. All I know about any of that is the emails I've read. I don't know if Kelly wants to give us an update or how we go about that, but.
Yes, so, Bill had spoke with Brenda Jackson. Last week sometime, I guess that was. And had talked to me Thursday night about that. Called me Friday morning. On Monday morning, you sent out that email that she had put in as my attorney in the court. I was under the understanding that whoever that was the interim, whoever was going to be our interim attorney, that we would talk to them about handling that before we went outside. But that did not happen. So I have a meeting with her on Tuesday. I sent her an email this morning asking cost, because we have not had a chance to talk cost, because I'm assuming she's not going to do this for free. And in my email, I appreciate your help. I do. It's my case, and I just want me to be able to handle that on my own.
Yeah, you are.
I know, but you went out and secured her for me.
Well, I didn't secure it. You want me to go through the story? I can, if you want.
Well, I'd like to hear it.
Okay, so let me go through this, chronology, because it's important. The most important thing that this county does, and for the citizens of the county, as well as the state, is our election process, period. It is. It matters. And Clint recognized that even on his deathbed. And he sent us a very touching letter, I thought, not just to resign, but he sent it to you, who copied us. And in that letter, he says that he's really sorry to let us down. And he'd hope to get through the hearing on the 13th before bailing out, but I'm not going to make it. So, see, even then he recognized, and then the attorney thing is twofold. One is a full-time attorney for the county. The other one is representation for you. In both cases, it is our job to help make that possible. Hire an attorney for the county and secure one for you to choose from, to pick. That's true. Or you could do it on your own. Have you reached out to anybody?
No, because because our last conversation was I was going to wait and see who you guys got as a interim.
Okay, so to me, the elephant in the room is Tom. Tom, this is a recall election, period. That's still part of the election process. That's what the Clint was doing, and that's why he felt he let you down by not getting there to be able to do it. And after we had our meeting back on the 6th of before the 6th, I should say, the 6th is when he sent that letter out. And then at that time, his resignation letter came in at 8:59 at the same time. Blew us all away. We couldn't do anything about it. We couldn't accept the resignation because it wasn't on the agenda. We had to wait till the next meeting. On the 7th, we did that. The BOCC meeting, we announced that Clint's resignation occurred. And then at that time, we agreed afterwards as a group said, we need to move quickly because elections matter and the county business matters. And we work for the county people. That's our job, my job, Tom's job and Kevin's job. And so we did that. We had contacts. Tom called up Dwayne McFall, asked if Brenda Jackson, that attorney, could help. Kevin, I don't know who you called, and he said he couldn't use her. And I had already been in contact with the Colorado Counties Attorneys Association. The Colorado Association of County Attorneys is how it's pronounced. Because of the lawsuit with the Tribune, we got familiar with it. They told me a name to use to get a temporary attorney to continue doing the recall, as well as possibly find an attorney to temporarily work for us until we hire one. Because I don't know, we need an attorney full-time as well. So he directed me to, and we're going to talk about this later. We're going to talk about attorney stuff today, or is that on another day? We were going to talk about getting an attorney. Is that on the agenda? We're going to have to do that at some point. Because you hire an attorney, you compete it just like any other contractor and contract, and you need that in the process. So he said, send us all the stuff from the county, and they'll put it through the association, and they'll put a notice out. We need to advertise it locally. We need to advertise for an attorney. That'll take a lot of time. In the meantime, he said, get a hold of the neighboring counties, which Tom had already started, and I picked it up from there and called as well. And I also, in fact, you have to know what the process of the election recall is going. So I called Dan Slater up, because when we first used him was when Clint got hurt back in December a year ago. And we asked somebody to step in, and he was recommended to us by Buck Wenzel. By the way, Tom reached out to Buck too, and Buck gave us a name of a guy in Salida, and his name was Ramey, was his last name, to consider putting his name in as well for the county attorney. In the meantime, the president of the Association of County Attorneys said he'll go ahead, and he knew somebody in Hall and Evans, which is the attorneys that the state association uses and counties use to stand in for lawsuits and represent counties as well. Matter of fact, one of those attorneys represents about 4 counties in the west corner of the state. He lives in Denver, and he represents them at their meetings and other things as well. The guy's name was Tom Haggerty, was the guy that was recommended. He couldn't do it, and he ended up, because of the need to do both things, and he recognized, well, I can help you out on the recall, perhaps. And he had a lady that he recommended. Her name was Kate Woodward. Her price was $600 because it's $250 for her, $200 for her assistant, and she needed a paralegal apparently. But she could jump on, and that was before the recall was or the hearing was moved out. And she was ready to jump in and help, actually be here for the 13th, so that was a consideration. But that may not have been worth the cost either. So what they had done then, Dan had recommended, there's 2 other attorneys that I got a hold of. One was Brenda Jackson, and that was her number 1 choice. And then the other one was Rocco Medina. He's out in Canyon somewhere. But he said, call Brenda first. That was his choice. She didn't have recall experience and other business experience as well. So that's why I called her. And at that point, she said, I will get a hold of Dan and find out what the particulars of that case are and see if I can put it in my calendar. And that's why I called her, not to try to cut a deal with her. But you have to ask if she didn't, like Tom, I think you had a question. I thought you asked her to work on I sure did. I said, can you work on the recall? Because that's important. And she said she could, but she can't get involved until after Wednesday because she's personal issues to fix, and she probably told you that. So that is happened all on Thursday, the day of the CCRC election. And by the time I got that, the PMR had occurred for the broadband, and I let you all know what the status was. And it's up to Kelly to decide. And so I told Kelly that night, and I think you told Kelly as well, what was going on before that. And I said I would give you her number and to call her in the morning, because she said she would, because of the discussion she had with the broadband or the recall people, and that'd be Dan Slater. They both agreed that because it is an election and it is important, and it is, my view too, our job to help facilitate that, they'll give you the best choices. That she said she would file only because that puts a leg up unless you told her not to. And you hit, and at 8:24 that morning, I sent you that note with her contact, and I called you to tell you just that. And I expected that, and I said, she'll file it, you don't. And the only reason I sent that other thing, that's what she sent. She sent that to both of us, I think. And then, I don't know why, but it didn't go through, but that's why I attached it just to show you that she actually did do it. I thought you were involved with it. So there it is. That's where it stands. I was not stepping on your toes. You're right. It is your job. It's our job to make that happen for you. And it is the most important thing. I stand by everything. I've been over backwards trying to find it because I care about that much. The process matters. And we cannot keep pushing the cart down the road like it is. Clint wouldn't have wanted that.
No, he wouldn't have, but I just felt that you overstepped. And that you have more invested in the recall than normal.
Okay, the only person in this room that has more invested is that guy sitting right there, because the recall's about him. It's not about me, it's not about Kevin, it's not about anybody else. And that is a conflict of interest, and I think he ought to recuse himself from the discussion on a lawyer to support you personally. I really do, because
I think both
because
of you should, because you
No.
signed the petition,
Well,
so you've got, I mean.
Well, that has nothing to do with it.
I
It really
I
doesn't.
feel it does have a little to do with
No.
it. I'm sorry. That's
Okay,
just
that's
my
okay.
feeling. So,
Have your, and I'm just telling you where I stand. That's it.
I will speak to this real quickly, and I would agree with Kelly. I think both of you gentlemen have an interest
Maybe.
in this case, and it is our job, granted, to go out, and we were looking for someone to represent the county and seeing if someone could represent Kelly.
Mhm.
That decision ultimately falls to Kelly. She's her own elected individual. She's the one named in the lawsuit. And you said that we needed to give her good options. That's right. That is correct. That option was seemingly taken away because Kelly was not contacted by Brenda Jackson. Brenda went ahead and filed without contacting Kelly, and I would think, I'm not going to assume because that gets you in trouble every time. I would think it came about because of the conversation you had with
It
Brenda.
absolutely came about. It
And-
absolutely did.
and
I'm
so-
going to interrupt here because it's
Well,
important.
let me finish and then you can,
All right,
you
go
can
ahead.
speak to it. I did not interrupt a minute
All
ago.
right.
So I would agree that I think that you stepped too far because we can give Kelly the options. Kelly needs to make that decision, and that decision was taken away from her.
Okay, you done?
I'm done.
Okay, I disagree. Because when I talked to Kelly that morning, I told her unless she was expecting to hear from you. She was. That's why I sent it to her, and that's why it was important. The time was in essence. I don't know why you didn't. It doesn't matter. And so and as a matter of fact, you don't have to keep her. You always have that option. You start with a lawyer, anybody, and if it's not doing the job, you fire them. That's part of the process. But it is important that the process continue in this county. That's my position. It's not because of I signed a signature or anything like that. Tom voted for somebody else. It doesn't matter. That I don't care how that is. The bottom line is what's best for this county is that thing continues and that we get an attorney as soon as possible for the county and for the recall, period.
it's not me.
We, the county, I'm talking about. Okay. And I take that seriously. I do. I care about this county. That's why I'm the commissioner. I'm not in it for the money. That's for darn sure.
May I continue, sir?
You may.
Thank you. Clearly, Bill, it has the appearance of you're throwing a bunch of stuff on the wall and see what sticks. You overstepped your bounds. We had this discussion Thursday night. I clearly voiced my opinion that it was none of our business to be hiring an attorney to represent an elected official. As I understand it, Brenda Jackson filed for a continuance.
No, she filed for appearance, not a continuance.
Appearance, that was the
That
whole
was, she
point.
had filed
appeared to
that,
continue.
that she had filed so that they could continue the process if Kelly wanted to go. It didn't matter.
She filed for an appearance. Is that correct?
Yeah, what it's called.
And I don't believe Kelly asked her to do that.
She didn't tell her
So
not
that
to.
must leave you to do that.
I didn't
And
tell
I'll
her.
tell you, I think it's a huge conflict of interest. You're the one that brought up the recall. I've been doing my research for an attorney with no thought whatsoever about the recall. I understand your
You,
interest in wanting to make sure we have an attorney to press the recall forward. This court lawsuit doesn't have anything to do with the recall. It has to do, they're challenging Kelly's ability to do her job. It may or may not have an impact on the recall, but Kelly's court case is not about the recall. It's about whether or not she did fulfill her fiduciary on whether or not she followed the state proceedings on removing signatures from a petition. I'm not the elephant in the room. I may become that if the people suing Kelly have their day in court and happen to be successful. Then I'll most likely become the elephant. I have nothing to do with this. Neither do you
I
two.
didn't.
We have no business being involved in hiring an attorney to represent Kelly. Way over your authority. I know how much you love the county and how important it is to you. I thought we agreed that we had no business hiring an attorney for Kelly.
I did not hire the attorney, period.
I'm not saying you signed the line, but on the dotted line to a contract to hire, Kelly didn't okay her to file for an appearance. You did, apparently.
No, I
She
didn't.
well,
She
then
was waiting
did
for
it
a
on her
call.
own.
I told her to call her because she said that well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think it does matter. I don't know what you mean about I voted for somebody else. What was that in reference to?
Well, you have your opinion on who you support. I have mine.
Well, you said I
And I
voted
told-
for somebody else. What election?
The last election, you voted for Debbie Adams.
What?
You had a Debbie Adams sign in your yard.
I did not. Oh, my God. One other thing, and then we'll
That
move
doesn't
on.
matter.
Oh,
It's
my
not gonna
God.
do it.
Well, it does matter. I wish you wouldn't say it doesn't matter. We wouldn't be discussing it. It does matter. Wow. I even hesitate to bring up anything else that may symbol governance here, but are we going to address Buck's request for signing the county up in the Office of Economic Development and IT?
I have been trying to do some research on there.
What are you talking about now? How do we?
Well, if you read your emails, you'd know, because we all
I did.
three got an email.
I saw that.
Okay, what did it say?
Said that there was an opportunity to do it. I don't know why you bring it up now.
If he hadn't brought it up, I had it on my list to bring up.
All right.
I have been to the state website on that. Custer County is in the upper Arkansas region
Mhm.
of the Colorado Economic Development. But apparently we are not signed up as in that particular area. I have not found on their website how to go about it. That being said, the rep for that is a lady that is through upper the UACOG. Buck was going to touch base with her and see if he could get some additional information. So On that note, I was doing research on this yesterday and could not find on their website how to go about
Yeah,
that.
I didn't find it either.
So,
I was looking for their bylaws, to tell you the truth. I think that's important,
so,
figure out how to do it.
yeah, and I'm not sure if this rep will, she should be able to give us some additional information. I think his email, it's at no cost to be signed up as an area of opportunity or yeah, an enterprise zone. So that is, I'm waiting to hear some more information from Buck. But I think it would be prudent to move on with that, to move forward with that.
Would you like me to push that cause forward?
That would work good.
I would volunteer to do that. I think the first reasonable outreach we should have would be to Charles Bogle, the chairman of the Economic Development Council here. He certainly has had those conversations about trying to get an opportunity zone up here in the county. So that's where I would start, if it was me.
That's why I was wanting to look at the bylaws and who actually should be doing that, because I'm not sure Charles has the authority to do that. I don't know. And that's just what I get from, so I don't, that has to be looked at.
Yeah,
You know, does he really represent the county, or what agreement was cut with Charles way back when by what commissioners? Because, you know, from what I understand, from looking what I did, was that the economic development people can be on boards, but they can't vote. They can be ex officio, they can't be the chairman, that kind of thing. So I know they can bring things forward for the counties. So that's why we need to understand it.
I believe ultimately it comes down to a decision from this body here. But that being said, he probably has additional information as well.
I agree.
But if we could figure out how that we need to go about doing that, I think that would be good. So if you would like to take that on, that would be great in my opinion.
That's all I have.
Okay, I had that. So the only thing I have left on my list would be dates for AOP meeting. That I think we all got the email from Bill Christie.
Mhm.
I'm trying to submit a couple of different dates for him to try to set up a meeting with the state. So that
You
we
working
can
out
move
with
forward
him,
with that.
Jennifer?
And Rich Smith. Let me tell you what he emailed me.
Okay,
He said, how about March 20th or Tuesday, March 21st?
20th or 21st.
I have an opioid meeting in the afternoon on the 21st.
I'm not available the 21st. I am available on the 20th.
And the 20th is President's Day? No, in March, never mind.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And
So say those dates again.
March 20th and March 21st.
Mr. Chair, this is for the annual operating plan.
Yeah.
Through OEM.
It's the one we sit through every year.
And-
We did.
You said Rich Smith. What's he have to do with the operating plan?
I believe he was included in that email.
Oh, it was, okay.
Bill
So
Chris,
those are the dates he's available?
those were two dates that he threw out.
Oh.
He was like, hey, how about these?
Well, I would think maybe we ought to wait until Robin gets back, and
This is being.
she's the one that ought to set the date, in my opinion.
No, here's why. Bill talked to me about it, and I asked him to get with everybody to find out when they could do it. Christie has been talking with him, and it is required to get done at some point. So Bill, I don't wish Bill was here. He'd been talking with Christie, so I don't know what she knows about it, but she supports that as well. She gives the briefings. So it's what we've done before when we were in the town hall last time in Silver Cliff when we did it. But I'm good. I'm good on any date.
I'm not questioning that we shouldn't do it. Obviously, we need to do it. I would think
She should
it
be.
doesn't make
involved.
sense to me if she's not involved in the date.
She needs to
setting
be
the
there. I
date.
agree.
He's the one that does the AOP.
But we need to ask Bill how, call him up maybe and find out if he's talked to her about the dates. But I got the impression he had, so I don't know.
Okay, well. We do need to make sure that she's in on that.
Did you copy her?
I can.
If you could find out if she is aware of those dates or something, and if those work for her. Before we make a decision on that. I think we have two of them that are not available on the 21st, so. Our date would be the 20th.
I don't have a problem.
But I would make sure that she is able to do that as well, because to Tom's point, at that point, she is the OEM.
Correct.
I think today's the last day of their SEPA conference, isn't it? Kinda lost track.
I think it's over.
It was
She was available
14th,
on the
15th, and
14th,
16th.
16th.
So it should be done today.
Yeah.
So she'll be back Tuesday, the 21st was her first physical day. All right, so that's all I have, gentlemen. Jennifer, do you have anything for us today, other than what we've already went over?
No.
Thank you very much. Public comment, if anybody has anything they would like to comment on this time that is not on the agenda, please feel free to do so.
Kevin,
Yes,
this is Jordan Hedberg.
yes, sir.
I'm going to make a public comment here just to clarify what was talked about a little bit earlier there. The BOCC is not listed as a party in the lawsuit against Kelly Camper. Hence, Bill Kanda has zero authority to even discuss the lawsuit on Kelly's behalf. In fact, that type of overreach is actually a crime. It's official misconduct. It's a class 2 misdemeanor, and it's a violation of somebody's client attorney privilege, which is the absolute bedrock of our legal system. Now, Bill has one point where he's correct, which is the county does have, the BOCC has an overarching responsibility for elections and election integrity. But this isn't about elections. This is a lawsuit. It's a lawsuit between the recall committee and Kelly Camper. Bill completely overstepped by even discussing the case and misrepresenting that he had some role to play to Brenda Jackson. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Let me talk to them.
You may respond.
Okay, I hear you. I didn't refer to that in that light, Jordan. What I meant was I was introduced to Hall and Evans during that time, and I was aware of that company, period, and the expertise that they do for the counties and at large, and nothing to do with anything else. And I had the right, absolutely, to go quiz them as well, because I was told to by the Colorado Association of Counties Attorneys that they use them a lot, period. That's all that had to do with. So thank you.
Okay. Not seeing any other hands online. Any unfinished business, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Okay, new business. First item would be discussion regarding the Justice Center Committee underfunded courts. And I had put that on to get us moving again on that has kind of taken a back burner in light of some of the other things going on.
I'll say.
So we do have how should I say that? Our try for the tax initiative was voted down. At that point, we had met with a group from the courts and the sheriff's office and had decided to move in a new direction by pulling the jail out of the Justice Center and trying to move forward in that direction. There has not been a new board, a new underfunded courts committee or anything like that set up at this point. And it has kind of died down. I am bringing this back up. We do need to continue to move this forward to see what we can do on this. So that's why it's on the agenda for discussion here today.
May I, sir?
You may.
I just added up, it looks like we have a remaining balance from the underfunded courts, which for clarification, the Justice Center has nothing to do with underfunded courts other than the fact that we just applied to them for a grant.
Yeah.
They're not interchangeable. It's the Justice Center is a local deal. Underfunded courts, as you well know, it's just a granting mechanism. So I'm not sure how we got off to calling our Justice Center the underfunded courts deal, but nonetheless, it looks like we have remaining balance between the two grants of $50,968. Initially, those funds were granted for specific reasons. And if I see things clearly here, that underfunded courts has approved an extension for those grants, including a change in the scope of work. That's
correct.
my belief. That's where I'm operating from. So I don't think anything's been decided formally. I know I was not at the last Justice Center committee meeting when there was a discussion about moving forward with a new plan. To the best of my knowledge, nobody has met since we have closed our jail.
Correct.
That's right.
So I think we start over on this whole process and have a discussion about whether or not we even want to move forward or not. That having $50,968 is not a reason to move forward with the Justice Center if the three of us don't believe that's a good idea. So I don't want the money driving the deal. The money's not going to sell this to the community. The money's not going to make this thing a reality as far as the voters go. So I think we have to have a conversation and decide if we're going to move forward, and if we do, how we want that to look. And then what mechanism we're going to put in place to make that happen.
Okay. Can I have a shot?
Yeah. You done?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I agree. We have to redefine it. First of all, I want to correct it. I don't think it's 50, Tom. It's 32,574.48. That was a redo.
You are exactly right. I took a total as a remaining balance, so
Right.
you're right.
So that's what we have left.
32,574.
The scope was agreed to. I actually helped work getting the extension. I did work it. And it's good through 31st of this year of December. So we got a year. It is not the Justice Center. In the last meeting that you weren't at, the group was here. Amanda Hunter was still here, and I don't know if you were in that meeting either. I think. And so what we decided is not a justice center, it's a court issue. That's what drove it in the first place, was the need to fix the safety aspects of this court that we have today. And so it's valid to use that money, and what we decided that and we had an engineer here, and I can't remember the guy's name or the company that he was with, that got involved to take a look and say, can we take the design that we've already spent quite a bit of money on and get the court cut out of it? You still have the bigger plan and modularize it so that you build the court, and that'd be one court instead of two courtrooms, and then put it on, we own the land already. And so it makes sense to have, it's not a justice center, it's still a courtroom that we can have and move and build it as the first step. And then move out of this courtroom here and do something with the room here, and then you could have a museum in there. That's a great museum piece that we got from Pueblo a long time ago. But the bottom line was, it's not a justice center anymore. We're not selling that to the community. They've already voiced their opinion. We've got a jail. We've got a good deal with the temporary jail use that we've got now, and a relationship with Fremont County, and the changing rules that have happened at the state level, because they want to account for more sales for other reasons. We can do that later while I'm getting hoarse. So anyway, we do need to have a meeting. We need to take advantage of the $32,000 grant to help scope where we're headed next on how we proceed with the process with the courts. The courts aren't going to go away. Our safety aspects, we were told in no uncertain terms, that if we go down the path, at some point we're going to be told to do it and have no choice. And that'll be a lot harder to pay for it and choke down what might happen at that time. I don't know the answer. I know that the construction now is very expensive. The economy's got us in trouble, but we can certainly move forward with the redesign and making a strategic plan to move into. So do we want to set up a meeting and bring on the people that attended that last meeting, and maybe re-look at others that should be involved? My question.
Yes, we also have, I think I received an email from the state, from Bennett's office in regards to congressional directed funding that might be available for different phases of this.
Yeah. Like we saw, well, it was,
So
it's in,
ultimately, it does fall down to a decision by the three of us to move forward or to not move forward. So I do agree with you, Commissioner Flower, on that as well. I had thought that we were in agreement on that, although we did not make any official type of vote on that. So if that is something we need to do, I would get that put on an agenda if we need to do that before we move forward in forming a committee again.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, if we could get that put on for month-end agenda, that would be consideration of moving forward with. Do we want to continue to call this the Justice Center, or do we want to call it courts?
Right. Well, if I may, sir, I referenced the Justice Center based on the revised proposed drawings of quote unquote, the Justice Center, phase 1 being the courts and phase 2 being the sheriff's office. So that's why I made the comment that I did. Those drawings were from Riley Johnson.
That's right.
Still referencing it as a Justice Center, which I think would be appropriate if that's what we agreed to look at down the road in phases. It would be a Justice Center at the sheriff's office.
First step might be the courts.
It could be a Justice Center if it only ended up being the courts. That's part of the justice system, so it's a matter of semantics, but that's where I was coming from, and you know, if we think the name Justice Center is going to carry a bad connotation because it got voted down, then that's politics. We got to decide if we want to rename it or do something different.
That'd be,
If not,
committee to do that.
phase 1, phase 2, really phase 3 could be a future detention center there as well. I doubt that's ever going to happen, but that could be phase 3 as well.
Depends
So
on how we grow.
I think we need to start over. I think things have changed. We certainly got an opinion from the community on what they believed were the needs and what were the needs. So I'm not opposed to inviting that former committee to meet with us again. You know, I think it'd be irresponsible just to disregard any of the experience and knowledge that those folks have gained. But I think we also need some new people on that committee, and we need
Sure.
a new approach. That's my opinion.
Okay. So are you proposing then a meeting with them before we have this as an agenda item?
No, not necessarily, because I think we have to have an honest decision of whether or not we believe we need a new court.
See, and in order, and I agree, and in order to make that decision, we need to have people. We just don't sit down in the vacuum. We need to understand, is it worth doing that? So we're gonna have to have some input. We should get a hold of the people that have been involved on that last meeting and have them come and discuss it so we can make a decision and make some sense, some options. How to phrase it, what do we do? How do we make it better?
I believe I heard two things there. That, no, we don't need to have a meeting with them beforehand, and then that we.
I didn't say we didn't have to.
Okay,
I said-
that was
I
my
don't-
question.
I don't think we have to have a meeting, but I think we need to put out an invitation of how we gonna consider, people are gonna have to show up if we're gonna consider moving forward with a committee. You know, we're gonna have to, we can do that on our own, or we can have some input in the discussion. Maybe they'll come in and discuss it anyway. People do that when they see we're gonna vote on something, maybe we'll get some input that way.
Well, I think we need to decide whether or not we're going to move forward with an initiative to build at
Yeah.
least phase 1, right? And community's not going to be able to tell us whether or not we
No,
need
I'm not
courts.
looking
The
for
courts people are going to have to
That's
tell
not
us
what I
that.
meant.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
So. Maybe we can. See if they're available to. Put some input in on that consideration that day
That's
as
right.
well. Because,
That would be my advice.
all right, so if we can put that on the agenda. Month in, and if we could reach out to the courts to see if they would like to have input. For that.
Can you please repeat the consideration?
Consideration of moving forward with the Justice Center. That would cover it.
Cover it all.
And I would think we definitely need to extend an invitation to Judge Halpin, Court Clerk Holmes, that happens to be her last day.
Mhm.
And the District Court Administrator, Lisa Rose.
Lisa Rowe, excuse me.
Yeah.
And others.
And
Well, what
Even though
others,
we,
we need to have a list so we can make sure we. get
even
them
though
invited.
that we have pulled the jail out of there, I believe that
Sheriff.
Sheriff Smith would also be,
Sure.
so our list would be
Lisa. Becky,
Mhm.
my suggestions anyway.
Halpin. Good.
Judge Halpin. Sheriff Smith.
Probably wouldn't hurt to have, shoot. Can't remember either Steve Bauer or one of the others that were working the detail.
To decide whether or not we need a court.
No, yeah, from their perspective. They've worked hard on it. But the others are fine as well.
Lisa, on our previous email list was Lisa Rowe, we had Mike Halpin, we had Becky Holmes. We had George Veltman,
That's the name I was thinking.
Robert Hill at that time. Would you like to include George Veltman?
Yeah, he worked very hard on, and working.
Yeah, well, the whole committee worked real hard. I'm looking for input on.
Yeah.
Do we need a court or not?
Yeah.
That wasn't the committee's job
But
to
that-
determine that, right?
No,
We'd
but-
already
But
determined.
they were in
that.
the middle of, that's right, but they were in the middle of understanding the need for it. And that helps. And whether or not we need to pursue it with, and how you would do that later, from county point of view. I think it's worth having. He was at that last meeting.
I'll make a command decision here. We will include Mr. Veltman. So I have 5 people to invite. Would be Sheriff Smith, Lisa Rowe. We have Becky, we have Mike Halpin, and we have Mr. Veltman.
Yeah, Lisa's critical too, I think.
And the idea is we're gonna invite them to be at our meeting and have a discussion during the meeting with those folks.
And we can reach out beforehand to see if they have any input to furnish beforehand as well.
Right.
Certainly could join via Zoom or live, whichever.
That is correct.
But
Did you
yeah, I
get-
think that makes sense.
Did you get a copy of those names, list of those names?
Yes, sir.
I imagine you do since you gave me that. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Anything else on that, gentlemen?
Nope, if I had to vote, I'd vote yes.
Would it be weird to reach out to Judge Hunter? Former Judge Hunter, to see if she'd be interested in having some input on that or not?
Did a good job of wrapping it up when she was here. I don't know if she would. If you got time, it doesn't hurt.
I would not be opposed to that. She did put in a lot of effort on that previously and
You know,
she
even
has a lot of knowledge on it.
No longer our judge, that doesn't mean she doesn't have some background, and that's what we're really looking for, right? Some knowledge and
Yeah.
resources to help us make a decision about that.
Sure. So if you could add her as well. Thank you. Okay. Next item would be the discussion to consider other options for low income housing. And I believe you brought that to us, did you not? Or,
Can I talk on the subject you guys were talking about real quick, or is that later when after?
uh,
I just had a question about that. Did you guys talk to the public at all and find out if there was any, why they shot it down?
Mhm.
I mean, do you guys know all the reasons why? Because I voted no for it. But I was wondering if you guys knew the reason why, because you guys. have done it.
we did not have a public meeting per se. We did have feedback that was,
Yeah. I was just curious. I'm done. That's all I had. I was just curious about. Sorry to interrupt.
no, that's fine. Go
Morning,
ahead.
ma'am. How are you?
Well, how about you?
Good.
Morning.
You got a new shirt.
Good morning. You always
Looks
commented
nice.
us. I'm bringing forth, actually, it's on behalf of Ed Lyons, the proposal to consider PUD out in the area of his newly acquired property. Please help me if I'm saying something inaccurate. And I believe that he could probably explain it a little bit more, but I thought it would be appropriate for us to kind of, since we do have 2 moratoriums on PUDs, I thought it would be appropriate for us to kind of talk about this. His objective is to offer some low-income housing on his property, and it would actually fall underneath a PUD. We were kind of hoping maybe we could sneak it in as an SUP, but after reading a little bit more, I don't know that that would be possible. So if one of you have a better option there, but we would have to I guess we just want to open the floor up for discussion on what he has to offer our community and the lines of low-income housing and what he could do to help. I know that's a hot topic in our community right now, and there's definitely a need. So I will open the floor up to Ed.
Can I ask a question? first?
Yes.
Why did you think it's not an SUP? That would be useful at some point to understand. Because
The only,
PUD is more than, I think, than what he's proposing, at least from what I saw.
and the only, and what I could read in the resolution, it could go either way. When I read the actual application of an PUD, I think Ed has it. It does define it a little bit further. If we could run this through as an SUP, it would be a lot cleaner, and we wouldn't have to worry about lifting the one moratorium that would affect his property.
See, because where do you draw the line? It's,
Right.
it's nose under the tent.
So maybe that's our first
It
discussion.
controls growth. This isn't acreage of acres of houses and more development. It's not a PUD in the classic sense, in my view.
And I agree, yep. The application reads any use of land owned by one or more individuals. But the resolution does not go that deep. So,
We don't have to solve that right now.
Right.
It's nice to hear the idea, get
Yep.
it going, because all you're doing is discussing this. We're not voting to
Absolutely.
live in PUDs or a grant SUP here.
absolutely.
So
But had we not
I
had the
haven't heard
two,
anything about it.
had we not had the moratoriums, I wouldn't have, we would have just, ran through the normal process. However, with the two moratoriums out there, that's something that I don't want Ed to invest a lot of money in something that is never going to go through.
So, but we need to understand what he's got, and then we
Yep.
can decide how to, next step.
Absolutely. So I will open the floor up to Ed, if that's okay. And let him talk to what he has to offer.
This is kind of what we're.
Good morning.
Good. Oh, sure. Hello.
You say, Ed, speak loud.
Yeah, I don't like speaking at all, but here we go.
Here you are.
Yeah, here we are again. So this is kind of what we're doing. This is my lots right here with my shop and everything. You guys are all familiar with where I'm at, I'm sure. But anyway, on down 241, not 255 is over here. We were thinking about putting in like a modular park basically for low income housing. And I would retain all the property and then we just rent out the space.
How big is it then?
The 24 is what we had. We're not gonna start off building 24. We'd build what the community needed. If they needed 10, we'd build 10.
But how many acres is that?
It's 40 acres is what we have.
And you got it marked out there.
Yeah, that's 24 there. And then we was gonna do like some kind of commercial thing, but because this, I mean, it's gonna be rather expensive to do the water and electric clear out of there because there's none of that. That'll be all out of my pocket. I ain't going to Charles or any of those guys to get any granting, and
So there are two pieces to it.
that's 40 acres total.
No, I mean, is
Well,
what do you mean by
The
something?
county subdivided it by building a road there between the properties, so
I see.
it's 40 acres. They put a road in the middle, so it actually did legally subdivide the property into two pieces. There's 32 on one side and 8 acres on the other
Nice.
side.
So this is what we're talking about today, or
It
this?
is,
24.
but it's all 40 acres, so I figured I might as well kind of show you the intent
Okay.
for all of it.
And so when you say 24, you're talking about 24 housing units?
Yep, and be everything from, we can do. Well, I like.
Mini trailer, mini home.
I would prefer not many. I mean, we will if that's what people want, I'd prefer because. I keep seeing the stuff they're bringing up and Charles bringing up in town there as far as. They're doing mini houses and that's not a family environment, a trailer park isn't the best, that, for lack of a better word, that's what this would be.
So how many feet across is that?
260 on the wide end, 240, there's plenty of room for the setbacks,
On those trailers.
Yeah. And that was where you were headed on this.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's more than enough room for the setbacks for 50-foot setbacks required.
And then how wide would each of those lots be roughly?
That was gonna be like, be like 260
Okay.
by 40 probably. So they'd actually have a yard. Was gonna try to do it kind of nice, somewhat nice to. I grew up living in a trailer park. I mean, This, I wouldn't really want to call this a trailer park by name, but that's more or less what it'd be, just modulars and, you know.
So
some things.
between these trailers is how much room?
Legally, there's gotta be 10, but we would be probably 30 feet, 40 feet between them.
Just 24 divided by
Yeah.
how many feet did you say it's across? 200.
Well, it varies,
This
it's
length
on
here.
it's on a slope, so it's 200 and I think 20 here to 260 or 80 feet there.
What's the total width from? One side of that? I think what,
It's 8
what Bill is asking here is total width from here to here,
It's 404 yards,
404 yards.
1200 and something.
1,200 and-
1,200 feet by 24 is quite a bit of room.
It's more than ample, and I mean, I'm up for suggestions if there's anything anybody would like to see more, I just,
So that would be a piece that, you know, I mean, if you look at a PUD or an SUP, that would be, this would be the SUP part to me.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you're gonna do with this.
Yeah, well, that was gonna be for, cause you know, in my mind, I see the county's gonna, you know, as it's growing, they're gonna not want people to have businesses in their houses, cause you guys are already pushing that with well, the housing deal, you know, you're not running the VOs out of your house and stuff, so, you know, our businesses, like where I run a business out of my house, that's slowly gonna diminish, and people ain't gonna want me to have tractors in my yard. You know what I mean, so you're gonna want a commercial space for that eventually, so that's what the other side's for.
That would be something to consider later. It's not part of this proposal.
Well, I'm kind of showing you my overall because it's,
That's important.
you know, I'd like to, you know, not try to sneak something in on the back street. That's kind of what. It would all help with the financing of it, because if I put the money into low income housing, that's a really slow payback. On lots of money, you know, running power for a mile and a half, running water for a mile and a half, and. I've looked at 2 different water options right now for that, just so that you guys know that, so. I'm gonna talk to Round Mountain about possibly running water from there out, and then I've talked to Larry Finney, talked to the water department, if you guys approve this, I can do wells and then pay for the water. Through that route, there's several different options.
You got a well up near there somewhere.
Yeah, I do.
How many feet down is the,
280 feet,
and how much static water's in,
we got 15 gallons a minute in our well,
and enough to carry that through the year?
yeah.
Is it, you know, I know the Silver Cliff geyser mine, they shut that down because of the water quality or the sulfur or something that was in it. I'm not sure.
What was that?
The old tanks that were
Yeah.
up on top that were taking it out of the shaft,
Sure, yeah, that's done,
you know,
but there's still a water line
water's
out there on.
plenty of water.
Yeah. Yeah, the sewer seems to be the issue with Round Mountain, not the water, and that's what I was hoping with. You know, all the economic development boards and stuff like that, you know, they would kind of. Help pursue, you know, building something like this, you know, I'm not asking for money, I'm just asking for permission, basically.
Because you'd end up needing to go to Round Mountain for sewer.
No, I can put sewer on there. We can have sewer in the county septic systems. It'd all be engineered and designed, you know, appropriate and.
Couple questions if I may. sir.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't expect you to have every answer. I know you're in the planning phases, but just generally speaking. Are you going to? We might as well call it what it is, right? You're gonna, if it's mobile homes, you're gonna
Yeah.
buy those, or are the people
I'm
gonna
gonna
buy
have the
those? and
option
bring
for
them in?
people, I'm gonna have an option where I'm gonna buy probably the first 5
Okay,
and put on there. And then rent those out, and then if somebody wants to buy one and put it on there.
you could do
They're
that.
more than what we'll have like lot space, you can rent a lot for so much a month, you can buy your own home, you know. That's why, I mean. I'm not a big fan of the tiny home thing, you know, because that don't attract families. I wouldn't put my family in a 400 square foot house.
Not with any kids.
No,
Um. So I think Commissioner Kent asked you about your well. I'm assuming you meant, Bill, his personal well. Is that a commercial well or no?
no, no.
So that doesn't have any part of this conversation.
No, I would be putting a well on that.
Yeah.
property.
It had to do with whether there was water, how deep it was there, whether. it
And
feasible.
so you think you could get a commercial well to service 24 lots?
There'd probably be multiples. I can already put 2 there because where the county built that road between the properties, it already subdivided, so I put a well on each property.
Probably.
So I can have 2 wells there. But I don't know the answer to that. I'm gonna pursue Round Mountain on this and try to find out if I could persuade them into letting me dig in a main out there and put it into my own system out there, because I'll be retaining all the property. I ain't selling any property. I'm just, trying to make use of it. And it's kind of a area where there's not a lot of people, and it's, when I first built my place out there, we went to Link Lippincott, and he said that was zoned future expansion of Westwood, Colorado, and the bylaws like 100 years ago. That's why he allowed us to do what we did out there.
And then the sewer, you're thinking individual septic
Not
systems.
individual, one, probably like 3 big ones. All designed by us, state licensed engineer.
And then are you services that area? Let me rephrase it, sorry. Would these proposed lots be serviced by not Sangre de Cristo, Black Hills?
Black Hills,
That would be Black Hills there. And would each lot, would you guess, have their own meter?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm gonna have it like where it's a regular house for him there,
Right.
I don't want.
they're not gonna share meters.
Yeah,
with
no.
5 or 6
it's-
people.
Yeah, it's not gonna be.
And you would do all the roads.
And I would improve the county road going out there, because it's not even a gravel road at this point, it's a dirt road.
Right.
I'd gravel the road, and do whatever,
And that's
needed to make it,
241.
yeah.
And is there a cattle guard on 241?
250,
251.
220.
That's the cutoff going over to the other.
Is there a cattle guard on that road?
Oh,
From 255?
I don't believe so, is there? Ken?
Not prior to.
Yeah, I think it's,
Okay. So I'm a little hazy on PUD/SUP as it pertains to Ed. Cause I haven't done all the research. I haven't looked at this.
Just looking at it right now, I would say it would probably need to be a PUD. But the resolution is not as definitive as the actual application itself.
Yeah, I don't see that. PUD is clearly defined. It jumps into all the conditions, all the rules, all the stuff, but it doesn't really say what's the overarching purpose of the PUD. I think we know that, but doesn't really spell that out. And I haven't looked at the application either, so I haven't compared the language in those, but.
I think we'll
we'll
break
have
it
to
in
do
half.
And I would think we would have to go off of more of the resolution, so maybe it's a decision that you guys can make. But you're right, it does not clearly define it. I read through it, Ed read through it.
I got like Black Hills is meeting me over there, give me an estimate on the power and stuff. We're just kind of in the planning stages of it. I just want to see if it was even possible before I spent too much money on it and design and.
And if you go the PUD route, sorry, Bill, go ahead.
I was gonna jump on that, that's really the next step. You need to take a look and pursue it either as an SUP. What's the best route to go? What is the definition of a PUD?
In
That's,
my mind, the PUD is more defined and gives me more stability and, investing that kind of money into the community. It's more of a long-term SUP, it's. You guys put conditions on SUPs, but they're not really valid. You can't enforce a condition on an SUP. You gotta do a CUP if you're gonna put conditions on it and enforce them, so.
well,
If I may, can I read the definition?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, this is off the application. A PUD is quote unquote here defined as an area of land controlled by one or more landowners to be developed under unified control. I'm assuming that means, in your case, you, or a unified plan of development for a number of dwelling units, commercial, educational, recreational, or industrial uses, or any combination of the foregoing, the plan for which does not correspond in lot size, bulk, or type, use, density, lot coverage, or other restrictions to the existing land use regulations. And on the, I guess it'd be the east side, where your proposed 24 lots are, nothing else in there, you know, put a sawmill in there or anything else, it's
No,
just
that's
for
it.
housing. What happens across the road may or may not have anything to do
Yeah.
with this
Yeah,
discussion.
that was just there so you guys could kind of see my overall plan. And that would be helpful for me to help finance what I'm doing to spend the money, because like I say, power is quite a ways away from there, so it's a large investment from power over there.
Maybe, I don't know, it's something you're gonna have to bring back. Is it really cost more? Because it's gonna cost whatever it is per foot to get it there. And, the cost shouldn't affect it. Is it really an issue of whether a bank will back it?
No. No, it's me, whether it's
I know, so-
financially viable for me to do it.
Right.
If I'm gonna rent it for 24 houses, and then I'm gonna try to make them affordable to people,
Yeah.
then I would think it'd be like incentive that I got other room over there, I might as well take advantage of that. And if somebody needs a 2 acre lot to rent out for the park
you-
their backhoes in.
So you're trying to make this, an approval for the whole enchiladas?
Well,
It sounds like,
no, I'm just wanting you guys to know
Each side.
which is where the trailers are.
Yeah,
So,
that's my overall agenda, but it's the same 40 acres, so I mean, I can't really split it up, can I, and say, you know. If I didn't have it on there, wouldn't you ask me what I'm gonna do with the other side? Do I wanna
necessarily,
put more trailers over
the
there?
trouble is, water, if you're drilling wells, it's kind of tied to the other side.
Yeah.
But if you're getting a water main from the Round Mountain, that's different. I mean, you can,
It opens it all up, yeah, and I can actually drill 2 wells there. I can
I
drill
know you
one on
can't,
each side.
each side, 'cause you got a 40 there, but
I have one last question, if I may, sir. Don't mean to put you on the spot, but one of the things I appreciate about you is your common sense approach to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Don't get hung up in a lot of government bureaucratic BS. So I'll ask you this, maybe you thought about it, maybe not. What dollar figure would you attach to affordable housing in this county? Have you thought about that?
Well, we were talking. I just talked to one of your employees out in the front here when I came in, because they asked me about it. And I told them, I said, we'd be anywhere from $800 to $1,200 a month, like a single, a single family unit or a 4-bedroom unit. They're gonna have different prices, but
Sure.
it'd be like from $800 to $1,200 a month is what I would see would be. I don't want low income housing, to be honest with you. I don't want a bunch of crackheads moving in out there, I mean, just being frank. I want, people that work for a living, work in your county, work as deputies. I want to keep it nice. I don't want to have a deputy living here and then a crack house next door.
Right.
you're looking for double wide, multiple.
Modulars,
Modular houses.
Well, there's single wides available, that's where you get into the low income, you're gonna have $800 a month, you're gonna want a single wide. Because of the initial cost, the double wide now is $200,000, it's,
Right.
they're not.
So-
reasonable. It's,
I know the government says 33% of annual gross income should be allotted for housing. PMI, utilities, all of that. Now, when you say $800 to $1,000, are you talking about that would be the rent
that's,
range and then
then they got bills like
If they-
everybody else,
right, their utilities would be on top of that?
when your employee that confronted me out in front, we talked about this, I said that to him, I said, there's federal agencies that supply help for your teachers that are low income. If they're making $30,000 a year, the government will subsidize the rent, help them with the rent. I don't feel that, me as being a citizen, I've got to, take all this on the chin, pay for the
Sure.
electrical, pay for the water, pay for everything that's coming out of my pocket.
Yeah, I would assume you're not gonna subsidize these.
Yeah,
folks,
no,
right?
I'm not subsidized. No,
We're just renting.
I just want a fair price,
Right.
I don't wanna,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to gouge them, but. If they can't afford those prices, what I suggest is they go, like the county here, trying to help Charles Vogel build low income housing in town here, I don't think that's really your guys'.
But Ed,
Well,
have
it's
you,
the other way, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Charles Bogle is trying to help us.
Sure.
affordable.
but have you put pencil to paper? Or can you build it and make money at 800? You gotta be able to make a living. You can't just do it for free.
No,
Is
that's why I'm
$800
saying,
gonna work?
the thing on the other side of the road would help a lot, that's why I brought that up, there's trade-offs, it's.
That's why I'm
What
asking,
you guys are
are you
looking at?
applying for a PUD on the whole thing is what it sounds like.
I would like to apply on
Or
basically
an
that's
SUV.
gonna be involved in it, yeah,
Yeah, that-
that you know that it's there and it's coming, it's probably not coming right away, but I've got enough. On my table is just the other part, for the next couple of years, but.
Well, I think that's.
And you guys are looking at modular in town here, they're talking about doing modulars in town, so there's no difference, but I'm just calling mine a trailer park just because I can, because I grew up in one.
You can call it a modular too, make
You can.
it sound a little classy.
I like the trailer aspect.
I think the real question would be, are we talking about both properties or just this one for a PUD?
It's
Well,
zoned
that's the
all
first
one
question we
property,
have to
that's
answer.
all one property, so,
I
I mean,
mean,
it's not broke up on any of your guys' records.
40 acres cross over to the trailer park.
Yeah. So I mean, if you guys approve it, I mean, if you guys would prefer that, we can just keep lining trailers in there, I mean, but there's gotta be enough people here to fill them, I don't see there's that many.
That's
that
the other
much need
left
for
side of the coin. You gotta, well, we have a housing shortage,
Yeah.
a rental shortage, period.
Yeah, affordable, and affordables depend on, what people are paying.
Yeah, and that's why I asked what you thought affordable was, because that's such a highly variable answer.
Oh,
If you came to the commissioner and said, I want to do some affordable housing, and you had an $1,800 a month figure in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
We'd need to know that, because we may or may not think that's affordable, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I happen to agree with you. I think housing, if they can live in this county on $1,000 a month or less. But that statement generally includes all the utilities too, and that's probably not gonna happen.
no, I can't pay their light bills, I mean,
They abuse it that way too.
they do.
Well, I'm just saying a cost of live or an affordable housing figure.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't want to build Cabrini Green. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, because you've never been to Illinois, but that was the hoods in Chicago, Cabrini Green, so.
Yeah.
That's what you get with like affordable housing and you're paying the rent, that, I'm not trying to draw that crowd. I'm trying to draw people that want to be proud, work for a living, might have to work 2 jobs to live out there. I did it.
So to move forward, Ed, what do you need? We need to have you come back and propose something to us.
Yeah, I just need to know
And
that.
so
it
this
won't
looks
be-
feasible.
Yeah.
Can't say, so you need to define what the business plan is.
Well, what do you guys want to see? That's what I'm here asking today.
Yeah.
Dan. I mean, is this,
Great question.
is that upsetting to you guys with having that and that in the same 40
Well,
acres?
I'll tell you, the public can't see it, but they need to know exactly where it is. It's close to Silvercliff. It's not
Yeah.
like it's in the middle of the
It's
valley.
1.2
The
miles
agricultural
away from
value of that land is about 0. Because, one cow would die on it after 10 days. So it's part, it can be trade, doesn't the BLM surround you there, or does it?
No, it's,
Is it on the other side?
I own
It's on the other
this
side.
side, this little sliver here is BLM. And then this is privately owned and that's.
And then I could make the argument, it's not a PUD per se, is Silvercliff interested? Have you talked to Buck Wenzel?
Yeah, I talked to Buck about it.
Buck, that'd be part of Silvercliff,
I'm in the county, so.
but could annex it, it could be I don't know, I'm just talking about how we would look at it, it's that close to the town.
Yeah.
Pick up Round Mountain, Brad, and say.
Yeah, just whatever. I mean, I was just trying to, I've seen the stuff in the paper and I was trying to throw options out there. It's something that.
It's a good idea, I think it's a feasible idea, I don't know enough about.
My comment isn't really relevant to you as a private investor here, but just so you know, from a county perspective, I have been preaching that if we as a county get involved in the workforce housing, that those people need to work in Custer County.
Yeah.
Now, that may not be your take. You may say, I don't care where you live or work as far as that goes.
That's why, like with Charlesville, that's why I'm not asking for anything. I don't want stipulations. I just want to make workforce housing basically.
So we need it.
Yeah, and they could live here potentially and work in federal prison down
Yeah.
and you wouldn't have an issue with that.
No, I don't mind where they work. That's not my business.
You wanna make money.
My
You
business
can't.
is, I'm hoping
You
maybe
like your
they'll,
job, so you can't rent my place.
they'll order a house and I sell them a house and then they, I also did obtain a modular company dealership the other day in light of doing this, so I'm gonna have a dealership up here before long, but
Yeah.
just so you guys know that.
Well, on the surface, I'm willing to keep moving forward. I don't think we're in a position to say, well, we're not gonna throw up any roadblocks.
Yeah,
But I would guess the best you could hope for is to hear us say whether or not we're in favor of at least continuing this conversation and
Yeah.
moving forward. I personally think, based on just the surface, the PUD is probably the route to go. We don't have a moratorium on PUDs on this side of Great Creek, correct?
We do
We
until,
do.
we do until, July 19th.
Oh, the SUP was for the,
There's a moratorium on
East side.
PUDs
right,
till July of 2024, so. we
You
would
talking
have to-
about SUPs for
but the
what?
SUP was
For a
on.
PUD, am I saying the wrong?
Yeah, you are. He's saying SUP.
Okay, I thought you said
so yeah, there's no moratorium on that.
not on the SUP.
No, he just, it doesn't matter where it is.
So, yeah, I don't care what we call it, I just,
That's,
when I read the definitions, to me, that seems more stable.
these are the two moratoriums that are there.
If we call it.
The one page is the one that would affect us on this. The second page, the 2-page one really is not relevant because that's for the other side. of
We're
the
not
valley.
talking about a subdivision.
No, because I'm never damn on it.
So this.
That's the
would be a
difference. You
PUD,
see, it is, he's not subdividing it.
And they're
selling
modular, and
pieces.
if it don't work out, the modulars can go away. and-
You can do whatever you want. with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, that's why an SUP makes more sense to me, but they can supply for, if you apply for a different use. If it doesn't work out.
So this moratorium, I'm reading it. It actually speaks to west of Highway 69
Right.
and east of Highway
Right,
69.
that's what I was saying. We do have a moratorium on PUDs east of
Right.
Highway 69.
That's what I thought he said.
Yeah,
So if we did it as an SUP,
Doesn't apply.
at least to start out with.
Well,
right, but I'm not sure SUP would be the most appropriate way to go.
Don't know enough about it yet. It seems to be more
And-
easy for you to be flexible with it than a PUD.
yeah,
Because
I'm just throwing it out there and saying like, if you guys would entertain the thoughts, if it's something the county don't want. I can invest my money in something else, so.
Can we talk about timing, generally speaking,
I'd like to have them
this
in
year?
the spring, yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to have them up and running in the spring and.
So we would have to
can you build them that fast?
amend.
I'm not building anything, there's a modular.
If
That's
we
what I
did
mean,
the
can they-
PUD, yes.
Yeah, they said the demand has dropped on everything right now, you know, the economy's actually turning the other way right now.
Because that's only 3 months away, Ed.
Well, I mean, yeah, we can have it up and running. If you guys can approve it by then, there's a whole another month before I can bring to my next meeting. Next week, I'll know what power is gonna cost me, and I know what the units are gonna cost me, and
As soon as we could put it to the planning commission would be April, the first Monday in April.
yeah, so we gotta.
So
That doesn't leave much to get done by early spring.
So we would
Do
have to
whatever
deal
you
with-
plan.
Yeah,
We'd have to
as
deal
soon
with
as
a
possible.
5-year moratorium. There's a moratorium in place right now.
On PUDs,
On
yes.
PUDs.
Why was it put in place? Does anybody know why? we
that
have
was
more
the question. you were gonna ask.
Control growth.
I was-
And now we're trying. to
We didn't want
expand growth, so
clusters, a little small
Well-
You didn't want
villages
affordable
here
housing.
and there all over
Yeah,
the valley.
exactly. See, that's a,
You didn't want affordable housing, but now you do.
Well, no, it's more than that. It's like clustering little communities
Yeah.
all over the place as opposed to controlled growth that made sense.
Yeah, well,
And the
that,
agricultural value.
that's how you
is
make it
number
affordable.
one.
Not everybody can afford a 40-acre lot.
That's right. That's exactly right. This is
it.
different than a PUD.
if you had come and said, I want to do 8 $400,000 homes out there, I wouldn't be part of this conversation. That's why we had the moratorium.
That's right.
When you say, I want to try to come up with some affordable workforce housing, to me, then that's a whole nother conversation.
I'm not gonna get rich off doing this at that.
It's
you
a
know,
good retirement.
It's money, but it's not. My mom has
If you
40
make it.
rentals from Salida. She has a trailer park in Salida and she has apartments in Salida, and that's kind of her thing. So it's just kind of for me to get in line. I'll just do 20 at a time.
I think
So-
PUD is the way to go if we can get around the moratorium. And that's probably gonna We probably need a little legal assistance on that, but we put it in place and I think we can modify it, amend it, or do away with it if we want.
That's up to you guys.
That needs to be,
Yeah, you gotta go.
we can talk about that, but you need to come back with
Yeah.
the big pic here.
Yeah.
and make
Well,
a
I mean, if I'm gonna
recommendation.
hire an architect, see, like you guys did with the Justice Center, you guys had that all drawn up, but you didn't have the public support yet. I'm not going that route. I'm gonna ask you guys permission before I,
Sure.
you know, that only makes sense before I spend $100,000 designing something. I wanna make sure you guys are right.
Yeah, see, I agree. I don't
Yeah.
think you need to come back to us. I think we gotta decide, are we gonna modify that moratorium or not? If we're not, then that's the end of
Yeah,
the
say no,
discussion.
and
Not necessarily
I'll
the
be somebody
SUP,
again.
he still has the SUP route.
Yeah.
I think.
And I can check with Keith. I never thought.
You
of
better
going
look
with the
at it, and let him look
Yeah.
at it, and it's the location suits it to me,
Yeah.
suits
Yeah.
itself for it.
You know, and to that point. In regards to these, both of these moratoriums, they were in conference with the planning commission. I know ultimately it's a commissioner,
Yeah, we
Decision.
got recommendations.
but
from
you got
them.
recommendations from them.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that. Personally speaking, before I was to undo something that you guys did for a specific reason, I would want to be informed by all parties.
and that was
involved
based
as
on the
well.
planning commission's input for that moratorium too, so they need to be
So
involved.
that, I would think they would. need
They
to
can
be
come
part
back
of
with
this
everything.
So I should be able to add, if it's not a hearing, I should be able to add that to the March,
I would think so.
or
That's
March
not a
meeting
hearing,
as an
it's just a
agenda
discussion.
item.
Sure.
And the final decision
Right.
will occur here, but we certainly need.
There
their
has to be a
input.
hearing depending on what it is, that will occur later, it will depend on what they recommend.
We'll
So,
do that.
good deal.
because otherwise you're a year and a half out.
And there's no reason why you can't do it.
Yeah. And by then it might not even be feasible, you know, because they, you know, who knows what's coming. That's why, you know, I drew it up this way, but we'll put 5 or so in to start with and see what the community needs. I don't want to have more there than what we need. It's not, you know, feasible.
Well, you're controlled, bro. I mean, that would be a smart thing. You don't
Yeah.
throw it all in there and have empty houses sitting
Yeah.
there and.
Yeah.
Main.
I want all of them rented out as I'm, you know, if there's 5 and somebody wants another one, well, I'll get another one, 3 months. we can have
Because
another.
now, because that also begs the fact where you say you're planning on doing, say, 3 large septics.
Yeah.
That opens that can because. Are you allowed to put multiple dwellings on one septic? I think you were looking at a,
Well, you got Horn
Well,
Creek
some
up
of these
here
other
that just did a $600,000 septic system. So there's no
So-
difference,
It
correct?
would- I think as long as it's engineered and that's the direction he would take it.
It's legal to do, you
So,
just gotta get the right.
Yeah, just do it the right format.
So,
what we were talking about was more residential sharing the leach field. So they would each have their own
Mine
tank.
would be designed for specifically for this
Tanks.
application.
so I think another question we're gonna have to look at, you need a special use permit. If you are going to do anything besides agricultural and residential use, right? That's what a special use.
That's
use
correct.
permit is for. This is residential. So then the density question is gonna come into play, right? And if you wanna do. I guess the special use permit would be a way to get, to address the density issue,
right.
right? You can live on that property by right in Custer
But
County,
to use it for a bunch of properties,
but the density.
that's why the planning commission has to be involved. Sure.
Understood. I'm just trying to fill a need that I've seen and I keep hearing about and hearing about it.
Well, if you're looking for,
If you guys
looks
are-
like a good idea, it looks like a good idea.
Yeah.
Now we need the data
Yeah.
to say what kind of, what's the next.
A lot of
I get
hand
it.
wringing over, everybody talks about it, but nobody's doing anything
Yeah,
about it. So
yeah.
you're not hand wringing here, you're trying to do something about
So come back with the plan and get the PC to tell us what they think and
Okay.
modify it.
So you guys are pretty much on board as long as everybody's on the up and up. So that's my question, I guess.
it. I'm not opposed to pursuing it.
Yeah.
We have to have a lot more information before I can commit to a vote, but.
Sure.
Support
What kind of
the
information
idea.
would you like?
Get it from the PC,
Yeah.
they'll tell you.
Get that, yeah.
It's the first Monday of.
Sure.
You
All
can-
two, about
And
getting
if
on
it's,
that.
if it's gonna be a PUD or not, And I think I've got enough information from you today to look at the big picture to see, who knows, we don't have anything to do about the septic, that's state.
Yeah.
The well state, we don't really have anything to do with that either, so I would guess the planning commission and or this commission would say, we need to see your well plan, your sewer plan, your road plan and all that,
It would be part of the
That's
application.
part of the,
so.
So, yeah,
That's pretty
and find out if it needs to be a PUD or an SUP. And
what their recommendation.
then that all needs to be addressed on the.
That's through the planning department that'll decide that
You
one.
probably need this. This is very
And we
expensive
can, I
paper.
could set up a pre-conference.
That's not us, we
Yeah.
can decide that, so.
I
And
would
we're
say that-
agreeing the subdivision route is off the table, that's not a consideration, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not at all looking for that.
Okay,
So, and then, you know, whatever it turns out it needs to be, then we need to address these resolutions and go
If
from
they
there on
apply.
that.
and you're aware the current moratorium ends July of 2024.
Sure.
Okay,
On part of it. And two pieces on it.
On the one side of the.
east of the highway.
Mhm.
So,
All righty,
all right,
thank
thank
you.
you.
I'll get.
All right.
Okay. Next item on the agenda would be the consideration of the planning commission recommendation of the Johnson. Johnson.
That must be why you're here,
That's why
huh?
I'm here.
Well, let's take a break.
Okay.
No.
These chairs are kind of hard, so.
So, you don't look too jaundiced yet. We'll keep moving. So,
So the Johnson short-term rental is being presented as a recommendation to approve from the planning commission. There, it was not a unanimous vote. There were three additional conditions added to that, and they have fulfilled those conditions. The conditions were to change the house rules to add no open flames. One was to send a picture showing the location of the grill, and I do believe that they went so far as to have one of the fire marshals out there to see whether or not the grill is in a safe location, and it was agreed that it was a safe location. They have sent in a picture of that. And then to obtain the services of a local agent, and they have obtained Paul Young as their agent, I believe. Due to
That's
the
why
fact-
he's here.
Yep. Yes, sir. And I have the documentation that Paul has sent in that they have obtained his services. The votes were as listed on there, and I did add a few more notes after looking at the minutes. Carol Vehlinger voted no to recommend due to the neighbors being too close. Justin Giroux was a yes vote, recommend with conditions that with the conditions that were listed up above. Bill Donnelly voted yes to approve with the conditions that were listed above. Daryl was a yes vote. He liked the fact that the parking was okay, and the motion included a local agent. Mary Mallory recommended approval. She liked the location, and it was great that the location sounded great for an STR. Skip Norcross was a yes vote as well with the conditions listed above. And then Keith Hood was not to recommend due to the lot being under an acre in density.
So where is this exact? It says school.
It is off of Schoolfield Road.
Probably 140.
Is it all up by Alpine?
Yep.
So it's on Alpine. I see Alpine's right there. So that's where it bends around.
Yeah.
Was there a house there already then? So.
There was a house built after this one was built. In fact, he's got an easement to use their driveway. But they're kind of back, it's very secluded. From what I understand, the only opposing neighbor was actually across the road. He's not even adjacent. He owns the the dirt across the road, but he doesn't have a residence there.
I see.
That'd be from.
And you can't even see his house.
So was he involved in the
This-
discussion or? did
I believe he was initially, I was retained a couple weeks ago.
We did get just one comment from that individual. The comment was that it basically stating that if he wanted to live by a hotel, he would have bought a property by a hotel. That was the comment.
Permitting a hotel, correct, with permitting a short.
Permitting a short-
One resident, it's a residence.
Yes.
And I think I need to point out, the Alpine Restaurant doesn't have anything to do with the Alpine Colony.
That's right.
Alpine Restaurant's probably what, another 3/4 of a mile down the road?
That's
or-
probably
up the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's actually closer to the Alpine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
lodge.
you may or may not remember Letman's house burned down right across the road from this other piece of property.
It's just kind of on the other side of the tree line.
Yeah.
Which hasn't been cleaned up yet.
That who made the comments. Actually,
I believe it was a different. party.
No, it's somebody else, you know.
As far as the
Spring
grill,
Mountain.
from Spring
Yeah.
Mountain.
as far as the grill's concerned, I looked at their whole property and I'm 30 years in fire service, so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty adept at that. Their grill is absolutely. The strictest ordinances around is very compliant and now it's away from the side of the house, which has been stucco.
Looks like a pretty small grill. too.
It's a standard gas grill about like this. They've got it chained to the railing, so it's not gonna blow over and get knocked over.
And somebody can't decide to move it over by the back door.
No, sir.
Yeah, it's just. a-
And that's one reason they went ahead and chained it so that nobody
I
could move it.
saw a picture of the grill.
It's there.
The patio, or
Looks
the
like
deck.
this.
Yeah, page 6, 22.
And when I saw the latest, and I haven't seen the brand new ordinance that y'all made, I'd never seen the open flame, no open flame before. Cause like all my
Okay,
other clients, I advised them on whether we have a burn ban or not, whether they're allowed. But right now, they're not even allowing the wood stove in the house to be used. Due to
Who they?
the owners.
Yeah,
Because
their call.
the way that they were led to believe no open flame even means the wood stove.
no,
Yeah.
But that,
not-
if that's,
Not inside a house.
well, the ordinance states no open flame.
right, and if that wood
So that
burning,
might need to be
the
amended.
wood burning
because-
stove wouldn't have an open flame, a
No.
fireplace might.
Fireplace.
but
Right,
not-
so if you have a fireplace.
Yeah.
And there's still quite a few places in town,
Right.
and in the county that have fireplaces, they might need to adjust that wordage.
You say if
But
you-
those fireplaces
in
could be
the town,
built
you
in.
talk about STR,
Well, if you got it for the STRs, it,
doesn't apply to the residents.
no, it doesn't, but you got people that own. You know, that stay there, all my clients stay there part-time anyway.
An STR.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Some of them use it for 6 months out of the year and they rent it up the other time.
Well, it's like their house and then they.
It's a secondary house that they
But
use.
they're trying to keep it so that there's no, not confusing. not
Houses
living by the same
degrade if
rule.
nobody's
Okay,
using
right,
it, so.
Makes sense.
But yeah, these folks are not even allowing the wood stove to be used, so. Because of the way that it was conveyed to them.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. So Paul, just for my knowledge base, I don't know how else to ask this, and I don't mean anything by it.
Sure,
Are you in partnership with Charlie Ellison?
no,
Do you not work for him?
I don't know him.
Okay, okay.
He is Charlie Ellison for this. He's the manager.
I've managed. Six,
He does.
7
Your business.
rentals right now, 2 of which are long-term. The rest are all short-term, and then I do property watch on several other things as well.
A little confused about that. And then my other question was, I looked, I may have overlooked it. I never saw a name associated with Spring Mountain Land and Investment. Did this person ever provide a name? Or is it just this comment anonymous, basically, other than connected to Spring Mountain Land?
Well.
I don't, unfortunately don't have the actual email where
Okay.
the comment was
Okay.
made. That is the name
Just
that they're
wondered-
going under.
If there was a name,
I don't have
Is that the
that.
LLC?
Yeah.
Okay, that is strictly to protect them in case somebody gets hurt in their residence, they can't lose their house due to lawsuit. They were advised by their attorney. In fact, that's where she lives now.
The Spring Mountain Land.
I think that's what they call their LLC.
I think he's
They
referring
own
to
a
the
total-
neighbor.
Oh,
They own their residence in Florence and then this residence here.
So they own just that one piece, so you're talking about
Yes.
one bordering
The
Johnson.
only reason that they're doing the LLC is just to protection in case somebody hurts themselves.
And
I guess it's a
and
different.
on
way to
the
do
other side of the
liability.
road is that there's the same people own those two lots.
and you never heard anything
Say
from
West
Letton?
Spring Mountain, here,
No.
there's two guys here.
Oh,
and then
no,
there's
I'm
this
not.
guy
Oh,
here.
that's,
We're talking about-
this is the guy that complained about them.
Okay, so.
he owns this little
Had
parcel
nothing to
right
do
there.
with that guy.
No,
His house is across the street from them,
Okay.
but he
Yeah, he
does own
owns
them
both.
two
He owns that, but
parcels.
he's not living there.
Correct.
No,
There's
sir.
no structures on them two
it's
parcels.
probably,
Vacant.
honestly,
Yeah.
probably from here to that gray building right there. But it's grown up.
And
Got
you didn't get any feedback from any other adjoining landowners?
No,
Done at the meeting either.
no.
Access is through the panhandle, so to speak,
Yes.
to the
Yes,
Johnson place.
yes.
By right. by
They own the
Hotel
actual,
Hands.
Okay,
the,
They own that easement.
yes. They own the easement. They actually rent it from the Johnsons.
It's an odd shaped bulge on it.
It is.
Is it a parking lot there? What is it?
No, the parking lot's down where it says 198,400. Which is a little clearing about,
On past the dwelling.
uh-huh,
98.
I did a 6-point turn the other day with my little trailer.
And was there a map that showed the actual location of the house in relationship to that parcel? I don't remember.
Probably
seeing
fills up
one.
most of it.
The house is probably where the HNSO is.
Okay, so it's in the narrower part of that.
Well, it's kind of almost misleading the way it's looking.
Probably not a good map.
Yeah, it doesn't look quite the scale.
Yeah, that's about the closest thing I've had, the little dot in the middle there.
Let's see.
That-
On the
that
cap-
right.
That's probably more like it.
Well,
Yeah. It's like an explosion.
It does.
yeah, okay. Got it.
But yeah, the Johnsons are doing an LLC, but it's only to protect themselves with this particular property.
Which
They're not a,
doesn't have any bearing on.
that had come up in P and Z
Oh, did it?
before.
Yeah.
And those folks were doing it for the exact same reason, and a couple of the members were thinking these were just slumlords. And we're like, no, we own one property and we live there, so.
Did the PC have a lot of angst to how long it take them to do this? There's a lot of discussion.
The only discussion that was somewhat, I think, on the negative side was a small lot. We do have another STR that is in the same area. And I can't off the top of my head remember the specific name or which lot it is, but it's one of their adjoining neighbors. That is also an approved STR.
I think that's right,
I believe
because
it
it's
was.
round the
Yeah.
Yeah,
corner,
we did.
Rob O'Callahan.
and you really can't see them from that
Okay,
residence.
but
Like you can see, I think, 2 roofs.
it just seems to be,
with timber.
kind of a discussion with the planning commission on this lot size. Anything an acre or less seems to, some individuals don't feel that that's quite the proper place for an STR. And
Unless
maybe
there are
that's a
people living there.
discussion in the future is, do we want to make that a rule?
Regulations.
Well, if you're down on the valley floor, that makes sense, but some of these places up in the mountains, finding an acre of flat
There are
ground.
100 by 100 foot pieces up there.
Exactly, you
Tanglewood,
can't see anything
Little
around
Macy.
you, so.
Right.
I don't know that I would put that in because it's not relevant in all areas of the county.
Okay, I move we accept this recommendation from the planning commission for the Johnson. What do you call it? STO. Just so we can have more discussion and move forward.
second. I do have a motion on the floor to accept the recommendation from the planning commission to approve the Johnson STR. Further discussion.
Do we know the square footage of the house, total square footage? I've never seen that on the application unless I missed it.
I guess it's gonna be around.
3 bedroom, 2
I
bedroom,
don't know that we
It's
asked.
two loft,
No,
2 bedroom loft upstairs with the Jack and Jill.
2 bedroom loft upstairs,
Mhm.
Jack and Jill between them, and no,
And then there's
no
like-
bedroom on the main floor.
No,
So it's just 2 bedroom,
and they're not allowing kids or pets. So,
and they live there part-time, do they?
Mhm.
Okay.
probably need to.
Makes
though, huh?
sense. Not bad.
I mean,
I don't
it'd be-
see it.
it would
I don't
be
think
interesting.
we-
it's not really set up for kids. I've got another one that they don't allow children. Because of the stairs or
We don't want somebody getting hurt.
they don't want anybody getting hurt, because stairs don't have they've got a decorative timber look to them instead of the every 4.5 inches balusters, which are code.
Yeah.
But, we don't have code here, but the rental agencies do have code.
Yeah, sure.
They follow IBC, so they can stipulate where they can have pets, no pets, and we're not allowing pets here either, so. And I've also advised them to up their tentative rate. I've got one that she kept her rates low. And we were constantly having things damaged. Trashing the place out. It seems like the higher rate that you set, the better your clientele are.
Yeah,
They take care of the place. They also have,
Yeah.
the guests are always rated as well, so. Like we had one that has now been removed from all of the short-term rental groups, they're not allowed to rent anymore.
Hmm.
So they cost several $1,000s worth of damage.
Blacklisted, huh?
But basically, yes,
Well, my last question is, this fills up our quota for zone 2, if this passes.
Yes,
So there would be no more STRs permitted in zone 2 until something comes.
until next
Vacant.
year, unless we are gonna discuss the possibility of if someone were to drop off
Right.
the STR list, opening that up for the next applicant.
Right,
That-
we've already decided that, right? That's in the resolution. But the
I'll have
next
to look.
dated application will be considered.
If someone drops off,
Mhm.
I'll have to look. I didn't
Yeah.
see that in there.
So maybe I misunderstood then. I thought, and I'm looking past you,
Right,
sir,
right.
I'm not.
I figured you'd check it
Yeah,
out.
my understanding was if the quota in zone 2 is reached, that's it,
And
not next year. That's it until
Mm-hmm.
one drops off.
I believe
don't
it's
I think
think
it's
it's
that
an
every
annual
year.
Plus one.
I don't think it was an annual deal. If it is, it defeats the whole purpose of
Up to a
capping,
limit.
right?
Or do you do a caucus each year to see if you've had any drop off?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's probably what that means, is just that you've got, so
Anyway,
you've got
there
10
is,
per zone.
they looked at, they know there's it meets the resolution to approve it. If
Correct.
they- Okay,
So you're just waiting for a space.
Yeah.
Space available. So if you get 15 spots in
Right.
each zone,
but in this house, it meets the requirement right now.
correct.
Otherwise, it would
just-
just approved it.
If you look at it yearly, then you look, see if everybody reapplies, it was already there.
It's yearly.
I thought that was correct.
Hmm.
Well,
that what makes
applications that would cause limits. Well, so that's different. Applications that would cause limits to be exceeded for the year would be deferred to the following year. And be considered in the order in which the application was received.
Okay,
So that's an annual. An annual cap.
Do you remember the cap on 2, zone 2?
As zone 1 and 2 are 1 per year.
Okay,
Zone 3 and 4 can have up to 3
per year.
per year.
Hmm.
And we will be completely full with the exception of 1 in zone 3. If everything is approved that's coming in the pipeline. I already have applications sitting in the
Right.
pipeline for next year.
Yeah, I was thinking once we met the quota in the zone, that was it. We look at that every year,
If that were, I'd be in trouble because I'd be doing it wrong.
yeah. Well, yeah, I obviously was confused about that, so.
Alright.
That's all I have, so.
Anything else from you, sir? Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to accept the recommendation from the planning commission to approve the Johnson SDR permit. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. Well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
All righty.
That sitting didn't hurt you a bit.
Not at all. Just a little stiff and sore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those chairs get kind of uncomfortable before it's very long. So do these though.
I noticed
Thank
that
you,
was a good
Skip.
hard seat, so that it don't sit there too long.
That's it. We took the straps off the arms. Any additional items of business?
I have none.
Okay. That takes us to public comment. So if anyone has any public comment they would like to give at this time, please do so. I'm not seeing anything online. See nothing here in the room. That being the case,
I've got one thing.
oh, go ahead.
On the, I noticed with the affordable or low income housing, something to just kind of keep in the back of your mind. Like I said, I was a firefighter for 30 years in an urban area. And where we did have low income and Section 8 stuff come in, our calls to service were probably doubled in that area than the rest of our district. So keep that in mind when you bring that in, especially if it's 100% rental. And if it does go Section 8, you're gonna have to increase your law enforcement, your fire and ambulance.
We're not gonna entertain Section 8.
That's why,
But see, here's the deal. A landowner comes in and they use USDA money, they're required to. No, whatever percentage that they borrow, that percentage has to be Section 8.
Well, currently, we own the land,
Right.
so.
I'm just saying, keep that in mind when you're looking at other PUDs. That those are, they look great politically, they look great on paper. They don't work out real good.
Got you. You're referring to the POD that we were talking about earlier. Sorry.
That one, which I'm not a fan of modular homes because they depreciate and they ruin everybody else's property values. Where we live, we've got tiny homes coming in, which hurts us. Except when our taxes assessed, and it's like, okay, it's a little lower, but the problem is, like, all those tiny homes are actually considered in license as RVs, so those are something considered as well. But just I did like what he was saying. He didn't want to put tiny homes in just due to the fact you bring families in, you're going to have a little better residence most of the time. Granted, it was a different situation where I was at, but they share a lot of the same commonalities. And I've seen that in other areas as well. So, anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other comment? Any other comments?
I didn't see any.
Okay, I'm not seeing any either. So that being the case, I will adjourn this meeting at 11:04.
way to go. I'm gonna make my 12 o'clock.
Issue.